So this person has a 2-year-old, 30 days of groundwork that they've done with them, 15 rides on this horse. And basically, whenever she asks this horse to go into the canter, a horse gets a little hump in her back, gets pretty bronky, okay? And she's asking, like, what do I do? Well, you're doing good. You know, it's a 2-year-old, right? And some horses, there are going to be some 2-year-olds, you saddle up, you've done a lot of work with them, you saddle them up, and you get on that pony, and they just drop their head, and you go on down the road. Now, those are few and far between, but they do exist. However, a lot of these younger horses, they're excited. They've got a lot of energy. Even if you've done a lot of, you call it lunging, but we like to send our horses around, they might have a little bit of energy. So that will go away with time, with consistent training and work. But the other thing that's important, especially when you're doing your sending, are the transitions, okay? So a lot of people think, you know, and I've heard trainers say this, you know, if your horse, you know, won't lope or they break into, then lope that horse, lope that horse, lope that horse, lope that horse. Lope that horse for 20 minutes until they're dog tired and their nose is, you know, hanging on the ground. You don't want to do that. What I'd much rather you do is lope or send that horse, if you will, for like 1 minute and do 20 transitions, right? So going from the walk to the trot, from the trot to the canter, canter back down to the trot. And when we do these transitions, we breathe our horses down. So if my horse is in the canter, I'll take a deep breath to slow them down into the trot. You see how that even just sounds, feels better, right? A horse that's, you know, in the trot and maybe their head's up high, and I'll wait for them to kind of start to drop that head a little bit and relax, and I'll take a deep breath and slow them down into the walk. So my horse begins to take their cues from me, from my breathing, what I'm asking them to do, rather than taking their cues from their instincts, their energy, feeding off of this or that. And once you develop a horse that begins to connect with what you're asking, what happens is they start to look for that first, right? And that begins to override their instinct to take off and run and flee and those kinds of things, the things we don't want to see with a horse. So with time and consistency, good job. I love to hear that you've done so much groundwork on this horse, but it's still a young horse. So take your time, keep it up, and you guys will definitely get there. And don't forget the transitions. Those transitions are key.